Shoaku-Makusa, Not Doing Wrongs, by Eihei Dogen, from Shobogenzo, the Treasury of the True Dharma Eye. The Eternal Buddha says, not to commit wrongs, to practice the many kinds of right, naturally purifies the mind. This is the teaching of the Buddhas. This teaching, as the universal precept of the ancestral patriarchs, the 7 Buddhas, has been authentically transmitted from former Buddhas to later Buddhas, and later Buddhas have received its transmission from former Buddhas. It is not only of the 7 Buddhas, it is the teaching of all the Buddhas. We should consider this principle and master it in practice. These words of Dharma of the 7 Buddhas always sound like words of Dharma of the 7 Buddhas. What has been transmitted and been received one-to-one is just clarification of the real situation at this concrete place. This is already the teaching of the Buddhas. It is the teaching, practice, and experience of hundreds, thousands, and tens of thousands of Buddhas. In regard to the wrongs which we are discussing now, among rightness, wrongness, and indifference, there is wrongness. Its essence is just non-appearance. The essence of rightness, the essence of indifference, and so on, are also non-appearance, are the state without excess, and are real form. At the same time, at each concrete place, these 3 properties include innumerable kinds of dharmas. In wrongs, there are similarities and differences between wrong in this world and wrong in other worlds. There are similarities and differences between former times and latter times. There are similarities and differences between wrong in the heavens above and wrong in the human world. How much greater is the difference between moral wrong, moral right, and moral indifference in Buddhism and in the secular world. Right and wrong are time. Time is not right or wrong. Right and wrong are the Dharma. The Dharma is not right or wrong. When the Dharma is in balance, wrong is in balance. When the Dharma is in balance, right is in balance. This being so, when we learn the supreme state of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, when we hear the teachings, do training, and experience the effect, it is profound, it is distant, and it is fine. We hear of this supreme state of Bodhi sometimes, following good counsellors, and sometimes following sutras. At the beginning, the sound of it is, do not commit wrongs. If it does not sound like, do not commit wrongs, it is not the Buddha's right Dharma. It may be the teaching of demons. Remember, teaching that sounds like do not commit wrongs is the Buddha's right Dharma. This teaching, do not commit wrongs, was not intentionally initiated and then intentionally maintained in its present form by the common man. When we hear teaching that has naturally become the preaching of Bodhi, it sounds like this. What sounds like this is speech which is the supreme state of Bodhi in words. It is Bodhi speech already, so it speaks Bodhi. When it becomes the preaching of the supreme state of Bodhi, and when we are changed by hearing it, we hope not to commit wrongs. We continue enacting not to commit wrongs. And wrongs go on not being committed. In this situation, the power of practice is instantly realized. This realization is realized on the scale of the whole earth, the whole world, the whole of time, and the whole of Dharma. And the scale of this realization is the scale of not committing. For people of just this reality, at the moment of just this reality, even if they live at a place and come and go at a place where they could commit wrongs, even if they face circumstances in which they could commit wrongs, and even if they seem to mix with friends who do commit wrongs, wrongs can never be committed at all. the power of not committing is realized, and so wrongs cannot voice themselves as wrongs, and wrongs lack an established set of tools. There is the Buddhist truth of taking up at one moment and letting go at one moment. At just this moment, the truth is known that wrong does not violate a person, and the truth is clarified that a person does not destroy wrong. When we devote our whole mind to practice, and when we devote the whole body to practice, there is 80 or 90% realization of not committing wrongs just before the moment. And there is the fact of not having committed just behind the brain. When you practice by garnering your own body and mind, and when you practice by garnering the body and mind of anyone, the power of practicing with the 4 elements and the 5 aggregates is realized at once. But the 4 elements and 5 aggregates do not taint the self. All things, even the 4 elements and 5 aggregates of today, carry on being practiced, and the power which the 4 elements and 5 aggregates have as practice in the present moment makes the 4 elements and 5 aggregates, as described above, into practice. When we cause even the mountains, rivers, and the earth, and the sun, moon, and stars to do practice, the mountains, rivers, and the earth, the sun, moon, and stars, in their turn, make us practice. This is not a one-time I. It is vigorous I's at many times. Because these times are moments in which the I is present as vigorous I's, they make the Buddha and the patriarchs practice, make them listen to the teachings, and make them experience the effects. The Buddhas and the patriarchs have never made the teachings, practice, and experience tainted. And so, the teachings, practice, and experience have never hindered the Buddhas and the patriarchs. For this reason, when teachings, practice, and experience compel the Buddhist patriarchs to practice. There are no Buddhas or patriarchs who flee before the moment or after the moment, in the past, present, and future. In walking, standing, sitting, and lying down through the 12 hours, we should carefully consider the fact that when living beings are becoming Buddhas and becoming patriarchs, we are becoming Buddhist patriarchs, even though this becoming does not hinder the state of a Buddhist patriarch, which has always belonged to us. In becoming a Buddhist patriarch, we do not destroy the living being, do not detract from it, and do not lose it. Nevertheless, we have got rid of it. We cause right and wrong, cause and effect to practice. But this does not mean disturbing or intentionally producing cause and effect. Cause and effect at times makes us practice. The state in which the original features of this cause and effect have already become conspicuous is not committing. It is the state without appearance. It is the state without constancy. It is not being unclear, and it is not falling down, because it is the state in which body and mind have fallen away. When we investigate them like this, wrongs are realized as having become completely the same as not committing. Aided by this, we can penetrate the not committing of wrongs, and we can realize it decisively by sitting. Just at this moment, when reality is realized as the not committing of wrongs, at the beginning, middle, and end, wrongs do not arise from causes and conditions. They are nothing other than just not committing. Wrongs do not vanish due to causes and conditions. They are nothing other than just not committing. If wrongs are in balance, all dharmas are in balance. Those who recognize that wrongs arise from causes and conditions, but do not see that these causes and conditions, and they themselves, are the reality of not committing, are pitiful people. the seeds of Buddhahood arise from the conditions. And this being so, conditions arise from the seeds of Buddhahood. It is not that wrongs do not exist. They are nothing other than not committing. It is not that wrongs exist. They are nothing other than not committing. Wrongs are not immaterial. They are not committing. Wrongs are not material. They are not committing. Wrongs are not committing. They are nothing other than not committing. Similarly, for example, spring pines are neither non-existence nor existence. They are not committing. An autumn chrysanthemum is neither existence nor non-existence. It is not committing. The Buddhas are neither existence nor non-existence. They are not committing. Such things as an outdoor pillar, a stone lantern, a whisk, and a staff are neither existence nor non-existence. They are not committing. The self is neither existence nor non-existence. It is not committing. Learning in practice like this is the realized universe, and it is universal realization. We consider it from the standpoint of the subject, and we consider it from the standpoint of the object. When the state has become like this already, even the regret that I have committed what was not to be committed is also nothing other than energy arising from the effort not to commit. But to purport in that case that if not committing is so we might deliberately commit wrongs is like walking north and expecting to arrive at the southern county of Etsu. The relation between wrongs and not committing is not only a well looking at a donkey. It is the well looking at the well. The donkey looking at a donkey. A human being looking at a human being. And a mountain looking at a mountain. Because there is preaching of this principle of mutual accordance, wrongs are not committing. The Buddha's true Dharma body is just like space. It manifests its form according to things, like the moon reflected in water. Because not committing is accordance with things, not committing has manifest form. It is just like space. It is the clapping of hands to the left and the clapping of hands to the right. It is like the moon reflected in water, and the water restricted by the moon. Such instances of not committing are the realization of reality, which should never be doubted at all. Practice the many kinds of right. These many kinds of right are classed within the three properties as rightness. Even though the many kinds of right are included in rightness, there has never been any kind of right that is realized beforehand and then that waits for someone to do it. There is none among the many kinds of right that fails to appear at the very moment of doing right. The myriad kinds of right have no set shape, but they converge upon the place of doing right, faster than iron to a magnet, and with a force stronger than the Vairambaka winds. It is utterly impossible for the earth, mountains, and rivers, the world, a national land, or even the force of accumulated karma to hinder this coming together of right. At the same time, the principle that recognitions differ from world to world in regard to right is the same as in regard to wrong. What can be recognized as right is called right, and so it is like the manner in which the Buddhas of the 3 times preach the Dharma. The similarity is that their preaching of Dharma, when they are in the world, is just temporal. Because their lifetime and body size have also continued to rely totally upon the moment, they preach the Dharma that is without distinction. So it is like the situation that right as a characteristic of devotional practice and right as a characteristic of Dharma practice which are far removed from each other are not different things. Or, for example, it is like the keeping of the precepts by a Shravaka being the violation of the precepts by a Bodhisattva. The many kinds of right do not arise from causes and conditions, and they do not vanish due to causes and conditions. The many kinds of right are real dharmas, but real dharmas are not many kinds of right. Causes and conditions arising and vanishing, and the many kinds of right are similar in that if they are correct at the beginning, they are correct at the end. The many kinds of right are good doing, but they are neither of the doer nor known by the doer, and they are neither of the other nor known by the other. As regards the knowing and the seeing of the self and of the other, in knowing there is the self and there is the other, and in seeing there is the self and there is the other, and thus individual vigorous eyes exist in the sun and in the moon. This state is good doing itself. At just this moment of good doing, the realized universe exists. But it is not the creation of the universe, and it is not the eternal existence of the universe. How much less could we call it original practice? Doing right is good doing, but it is not something that can be fathomed intellectually. Good doing in the present is a vigorous eye, but it is beyond intellectual consideration. Vigorous eyes are not realized for the purpose of considering the Dharma intellectually. Consideration by vigorous eyes is never the same as consideration by other things. The many kinds of right are beyond existence and non-existence, matter and the immaterial, and so on. They are just nothing other than good doing. Wherever they are realized, and whenever they are realized, they are, without exception, good doing. This good doing inevitably includes the realization of the many kinds of right. The realization of good doing is the universe itself, but it is beyond arising and vanishing, and it is beyond causes and conditions. Entering, staying, leaving, and other concrete examples of good doing are also like this. At the place where we are already performing as good doing, a single right among the many kinds of right, the entire Dharma, the whole body, the real land, and so on, are all enacted as good doing. It is not that causes are before and effects are after. Rather, causes perfectly satisfy themselves, and effects perfectly satisfy themselves. When causes are in balance, the Dharma is in balance, and when effects are in balance, the Dharma is in balance. Awaited by causes, effects are felt, but it is not a matter of before and after, for the truth is present that the moment before and the moment after are balanced as they are. The meaning of naturally purifies the mind is as follows. What is natural is not to commit, and what purifies is not to commit. The concrete state is natural, and the mind is natural. The concrete state is not committing, and the mind is not committing. The mind is good doing. What purifies is good doing. The concrete state is good doing, and what is natural is good doing. Therefore, it is said, this is the teaching of the Buddhas. Those who are called Buddhas are in some cases like Shiva, but there are similarities and differences even among Shivas, and at the same time not all Shivas are Buddhas. Buddhas are, in some cases, like wheel-rolling kings, but not all sacred wheel-rolling kings are Buddhas. we should consider facts like these and learn them in practice. If we do not learn how Buddhas should be, even if we seem to be fruitlessly enduring hardship, we are only ordinary beings accepting suffering. We are not practicing the Buddha's truth. Not committing and good doing are donkey business, not having gone away, and horse business coming in. Haku Kyo-i of Tang, China, is a lay disciple of Zen master Buko Nyoman and a second-generation disciple of Zen master Koze Daijaku. When he was the governor of the Hangzhou district, he practiced in the order of Zen master Choka Dorin. In the story, Kyo-i asks, "What is the great intention of the Buddha Dharma?" Dorin says, "Not to commit wrongs, to practice the many kinds of right." Kyo-i says, "If it is so, even a child of 3 can express it." Dorin says, "A child of 3 can speak the truth, but an old man of 80 cannot practice it." Thus informed, Kyo-i makes at once a prostration of thanks and then leaves. Kyo-i, although descended from Haku Shogun, is truly a wizard of the verse who is rare through the ages. People call him one of the 24 great men of letters. He bears the name of Manjushri, or bears the name of Maitreya. Nowhere do his poetical sentiments go unheard, and no one could fail to pay him homage to his authority in the literary world. Nevertheless, in Buddhism, he is a beginner and a late learner. Moreover, it seems that he has never seen the point of this not to commit wrongs, to practice the many kinds of right, even in a dream. Kyo-i thinks that Dorin is only telling him do not commit wrongs. Practice the many kinds of right through recognition of the conscious aim. Thus, he neither knows nor hears the truth that the time-honoured teaching of the not committing of wrongs, the good doing of rights, has been in Buddhism from the eternal past to the eternal present. He has not set foot in the area of the Buddha Dharma. He does not have the power of the Buddha Dharma. Therefore, he speaks like this. Even though we caution against the intentional commitment of wrongs, and even though we encourage the deliberate practice of rights, this should be in the reality of not committing. In general, the Buddha Dharma is always the same, whether it is being heard for the first time under a good counsellor, or whether it is being experienced in the state which is the ultimate effect. This is called correct at the beginning, correct at the end, called the wonderful cause and the wonderful effect, and called the Buddhist cause and the Buddhist effect. Cause and effect in Buddhism is beyond discussion of theories, such as different maturation or equal streams. This being so, without Buddhist causes, we cannot experience the Buddhist effect. Because Dorin speaks the truth, he possesses the Buddha Dharma. Even if wrong upon wrong pervade the whole universe, and even if wrongs have swallowed the whole Dharma again and again, there is still salvation and liberation in not committing. Because the many kinds of right are right at the beginning, in the middle, and at the end, good doing has realized nature, form, body, energy, and so on, as they are. Kyo-e has never trodden in these tracks at all, and so he says, even a child of 3 could express it. He speaks like this without actually being able to express an expression of the truth. How pitiful, Kyo-e, you are. Just what are you saying? You have never heard of the customs of the Buddha. So do you or do you not know a 3-year-old child? Do you or do you not know the facts of a newborn baby? Someone who knows a 3-year-old child must also know the Buddhas of the 3 times. How could someone who has never known the Buddhas of the 3 times know a 3-year-old child? Do not think that to have met face to face is to have known. Do not think that without meeting face to face, one does not know. Someone who has come to know a single particle knows the whole universe. And someone who has penetrated one real Dharma has penetrated the myriad Dharmas. Someone who has not penetrated the myriad Dharmas has not penetrated one real Dharma. When students of penetration penetrate to the end, they see the myriad Dharmas, and they see the single real Dharmas. Therefore, people who are learning of a single particle are inevitably learning of the whole universe. To think that a 3-year-old child cannot speak the Buddha Dharma, and to think that what a 3-year-old child says must be easy is very stupid. That is because the clarification of life and the clarification of death are the one great purpose of Buddhists. A master of the past says, just at the time of your birth, you had your share of the lion's roar. A share of the lion's roar means the virtue of the Tathagata to turn the Dharma wheel, or the turning of the Dharma wheel itself. Another master of the past says, living and dying, coming and going, are the real human body. So to clarify the real body and to have the virtue of the lion's roar may truly be the one great matter which can never be easy. For this reason, the clarification of the motives and actions of a 3-year-old child are also the great purpose. Now, there are differences between the actions and motives of the Buddhas of the 3 times and those of children. This is why Kyo-e, in his stupidity, has never been able to hear a 3-year-old child speaking the truth. And why? Not even suspecting that a child's speaking of the truth might exist. He talks as he does. He does not hear Dorin's voice, which is more vivid than thunder. And so he says, even a child of 3 could express it, as if to say that Master Dorin himself has not expressed the truth in his words. Thus, Kyo-e does not hear the lion's roar of an infant, and he passes vainly by the Zen master's turning of the Dharma wheel. The Zen master, unable to contain his compassion, went on to say, a child of 3 can speak the truth, but an old man of 80 cannot practice it. What he was saying is this: a child of 3 has words which express the truth, and you should investigate this thoroughly. Old men of 80 say, I cannot practice it. And you should consider this carefully. I leave you to decide whether an infant speaks the truth, but I do not leave the infant to decide. I leave you to decide whether an old man can practice, but I do not leave the old man to decide. It is the fundamental principle to pursue, to preach, and to honour the Buddha Dharma like this. Preached to the assembly at Kosho Horinji Temple on the evening of the moon in the 2nd year of Eino.